Hi guys, what's up? What's down? What's sideways? James here for day 71 of chronic fatigue syndrome. My friend, my enemy, my constant companion. Today will be don't give me your fears. So this happens with normal people, and I like bringing up, this happens with normal people, and this doesn't necessarily happen with normal people. The reason being is that, just to reiterate once again, if you've got chronic fatigue syndrome, you sometimes forget that some of the experiences that we feel aren't necessarily just CFS related, and it's not just those who suffer from CFS related. Like people without chronic fatigue syndrome, they also experience similar things. So this happens with normal people as well. Well, no one's normal, but just anyone who doesn't have CFS is normal for this video. Okay, so sometimes when people are meaning well, they like to put a lot over their own fears onto others. So, maybe the fear of lack of job security, maybe the fear of lack of a university degree, maybe the fear of, you should just settle, don't ask for too much in a relationship, don't aim too high because you'll just get disappointed. They put their own fears across. Now, I kind of touched on this last video where people were, like, sometimes when I act like I've got chronic fatigue syndrome, people are like, oh, but James, you've got to think about all this. It's like, James is already thinking about it. I don't need you to add on to it. So if we take it that the person is switched on and cluey and not lazy and active in their life, then you would alter what you share with them. Now, if you've got someone who is none of those things, who are active in their life, and they're exhibiting behavior that's slightly out of character for them, then maybe instead of, oh, you've got to do this, otherwise this bad thing will happen, the better thing would be to ask, like, hey James, this thing is happening. Are you aware of it? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm aware of it. I'm not there right now. I was like, oh, okay. And instead of then going like, you've got to do it right. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. It's like, oh wow, I didn't need that. You can maybe ask, well, hey, what's the sticking point? Maybe there's something I can do to help. And it could be something as simple as putting, like writing an address on an envelope and putting a stamp on it. Okay? That's how it was done, guys. Snail mail. So maybe it's something to you simple like that. To them, it's just, I've got to find the envelope. I've got to make sure I get the address right. Make sure that my handwriting's not like, because my fine motor skills are shot today. I've got to select the right stamp, and then I've got to write on the back the return address, and once again I've got to write that smaller and hope that I don't shake everywhere. It's just too much for this moment. Now, yeah, if you let it drag on, then you're just running away from the problem. I'm not talking about that. There are just those times when you just don't want to do what's considered simple by others. So maybe the better thing is, like, is there something I can help with? Or where are you getting stuck? Well, I'm getting stuck here. Oh, okay. Would you like a hand with that? And then it's up to them if they go yes or no. They might go no because they might say no because they want it done a particular way, or they might say no because they don't want to be seen as a burden. Okay, which is something that you get a lot with people with chronic illnesses. A lot of them don't want to be seen as a burden to their family and their loved ones. So, yeah. Now, the adding fear is, so when we all have our own fears that we like to pass off as truths. And we have heard these since day one. you've got to get a good job for job security so that you can get a house and live happily ever after. You've got to do really well at school so you can get a good education so that you can get a good job and live happily ever after. You've got to find the right person, but don't be too picky, so that you can live happily ever after. These aren't truths per se in the sense of any variation from it. Variation from one of these three paths doesn't create a horrible adverse existence. There are many examples of people who have not done conventional jobs and are very well off. There are many examples of people who have not done well at school and who are well off in life. And there are many people who go, this is what I want from life and a partner. This is what I want. And they find those people. So I'm not knocking the establishments of like a job is good, education is great. However, your fear that the only way to succeed in life is to one of these two, and I'm picking these. There are so many more. The list is stupid long. I'm only picking these ones because they're likely something that you've heard before. And so if you like, the fear is if you don't do one of these things, something bad will happen, and then you want to, because you care about the person you're talking to, you want to make sure that they're doing one of these things so that they're successful. You're passing on that fear and layering it, to their own, because they're human, they've got their own fears as well. Well, they're fears. You're afraid of not having the job security. You're afraid of like, and that stops you from looking at it a different way. Like, having a stable job is good for some stable income, which you can use to build your future wealth, as opposed to, like, people will save, and this is getting into business a bit more, but people look at saving, and saving only works so far. Saving is not the same as actively building your wealth. Your good education is the only way to get ahead in life. Well, it's not, observably, that's not true. I know many people who went and did high level courses in university and stuff like that, and they pack shelves now. They couldn't get a job with their university degree, even though it was one of those, if you go into this, you will get a job kind of thing. So it's not true. It can happen, but it's not true, as in, like, it's the be all and end all. Now, when you've got chronic fatigue syndrome, you're a normal person. You're like the average normal person who have all these things in life. Like, you need a job so you can make some money so that you can do the things you want to do. Now, when you've got chronic fatigue syndrome, you have all the other stuff. Like, you have all the external factors that go on outside in life, with everyone else. You have the same internal factors that go on with everyone else, and then you've got the added component of having chronic fatigue syndrome and or fibromyalgia syndrome or any other chronic illness topped on top of that. So, and then when people start adding their own fears on top and passing them off as truths and trying to get you to be active, it's counterproductive. Very rarely will something productive come from it. If anything, you're likely to stress out the person who's already stressed. They are already stressed. Their mind and body is already under stress. You're adding to that stress. I'm not saying that they have to shy away from the world and ignore the fact that you need, still staying on the same thing, you need money to live and do things. I'm not saying that. But there is a difference between acknowledging what you need and actively working towards it, working to find a way that you can make it happen for you to facilitate what you need, it's hugely different to, oh my goodness, if you don't do this thing, this bad thing is going to happen, and like if you don't do it, you just go and do it, and it's just and stress, and we don't need stress, because at some point stress turns to strain and it starts killing us. Okay, so if you're a normal person talking to a normal person, don't add your own fears to their life. And if you're a normal person talking to someone with chronic fatigue syndrome, don't add your fears to their life. And if you're a chronic fatigue syndrome person talking to a normal person, don't add your fears to their life. There's a difference between sharing how you're feeling and sharing your opinions on life, but then to go and try and like, you must do this, rah. Absolutes are not always your friends, and they can be quite damaging, depending on content and where you aim them. So just be mindful next time you go to talk to someone, normal or with chronic fatigue syndrome, what are you sharing? Are you just instilling more fear and stress, or are you actively trying to find a way to facilitate the change that needs to happen? Two hugely different things, guys. This one is the one you want. Hey, I noticed you're stuck. How can I help you? That's this one. Okay? Hey, you haven't done that thing. You really should do that thing, otherwise this thing's going to happen. That's this one. We don't need it. It can go bye-bye. Okay? This is the one we want. So if you have any questions or would like to introduce yourself, please feel free to comment below, make contact, like, share, subscribe, and hit the little notification button. And thank you very much for letting me share with you day 71. Don't make your fears others.